Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 12 of What If Naruto was sent to the Highschool DxD universe. Also check out previous parts of this What If, link is in description. I have created a playlist for this What If, where you can find all the previous parts, check that out as well. Before we start, please do support for more awesome content, it really means a lot. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. And also check the description for the creator of this great fanfic, and support them for making this fanfic. So let's start this video. Mizo, beef or pork ramen. A tall handsome blonde man mused, staring at the rows upon rows of instant ramen. A stack that promised the heavenly delicious taste of ramen. The stylish package gave off a glorious glow which beckoned him and he obeyed. Now what to do? There are so many flavor of ramen to choose from in here. Naruto's eyelids narrowed, leveling a heated glare at the stack of instant noodles, eyes dashing back and forth. A bead of sweat cascaded down the side of his face. His eyes twitched every now and then, his lips thinned, his brows furrowed, his brain going through a world war trying to remember. To access, to ascertain, to choose one, out of the many packages of deliciousness right in front of him. His jaws tightened as the internal tug of war rose to unbearable lengths. His fingers scrambled around, gliding over the surfaces of all the different brands of instant noodles, trying to pick one but failing miserably. He went through a panicking frenzy and was this close to exploding, before he suddenly got a revelation which brought a startling relief, and he almost facepalmed at his stupidity. Meh, I'll take it all. There was no rule saying, pick one only, so Naruto took them all. The huge-ass headphone resting on Naruto's neck jiggled with every step he took, with the music still playing just loud enough for him to hear. He was clad in a burnt orange armless jacket and blue shorts. Bijuus was too busy coming up with a new recipe to go shopping, and the task fell to Naruto, so here he was doing a mundane task with his signature bored face on. That was before he saw the rows of instant noodles on the shelf. This is a woman's job, Dadabayo. The sudden resurface of his old verbal tic annoyed him greatly. Speaking of annoyance, the ladies in the store just can't keep their eyes to themselves. Naruto could practically feel their eyes burn holes through his body. Looking at a list of food items and other appliances they needed, he took a sideways glance at the grocery cart which was half full. He moved to a secluded part of the store away from human eyes, put the headphones on, and continued his shopping in peace away from prying eyes. Get down. Put your face on the floor, a short fat man screamed as he drilled holes through the ceiling with an Uzi, letting loose a few rounds after his declaration. This is a heist, not a drill, another green-haired man yelled with a mean look on his face. 2 accomplices were stationed at the store's exit, which was also its entry point, while 4 others patrolled the store, trampling on some hostage who dared raise their head. Their leader, Quavo, sauntered over to the register where the cashier was. Hey gorgeous, nice morning isn't it? Now, mind telling me your name? He reached for her face and traced a long finger down her cheek. Martha, she replied, filled with trepidation. Martha? That's a fine name. I'm Quavo in case you were wondering. Quavo had a brown hat covering his slick-back jet black hair with a brown vest over a white shirt tucked into blue jeans and a light brown boot. He possessed sharp facial features, pale skin, thin lips and deep blue eyes with a stubble on his face. Now, I know you've seen this happen countless times in the movies, and we all know there's always one person dumb enough to hit the silent panic button, but this isn't fiction, my dear. This is real life. If you press that button indeed, them pigs will arrive in them wooden blue tin cans with sirens wailing, but before then, think about all the sick things I could do to you. Martha, a 16-year-old girl who looked way too mature for her age with shoulder-length platinum blonde hair with curly bangs casting a curtain over her forehead all the way to her eyelashes. Her pink lips added to her appeal, big purple orbs which radiated happiness all the time, had been wiped off to be replaced with utter fear. Now, you wouldn't want that, would you? Quavo asked. Martha couldn't speak, all she could do was nod. All her life, she's always been a wuss incapable of fighting for herself, and subsequently, she relied heavily on her older brother who was a detective, but right now, her older brother wasn't here to protect her. As I said before, you've seen this in movies, and you know how this entire thing is going to proceed, HM. He finished with a smile. Martha quaked in her shoes, but she steeled her nerves for what she was about to do. Her Oni-chan would be proud of her. Naruto pushed his cart at a leisure pace, looking at the assortment of instant noodles lying inside the cart, daydreaming about a girl dressed in a stupid ramen costume serving him, as he soaked in a pool of broth. An eccentric dream for most, but a heaven for Naruto. Hey you, get your fucking face on the floor. The man who drilled a hole through the ceiling yelled. Naruto tore his gaze from the cart and leveled a glare at the man. He pulled the headphones off and tightened his grip on the cart. No matter where he was, trouble always seemed to find him. And you are? He asked. Naruto heard the sound of guns going off earlier, and didn't give a shit about it, cause it wasn't his problem. He thought the sound was coming from out of the store or from a busted tray, but if the current situation turns out to be what he thought it was, which was highly possible cause of the huge man pointing a gun at him, it would annoy him greatly. He wasn't in the mood to play with thieves. Looks like I wasn't clear enough. The man punctuated his words with intimidating steps towards Naruto. He was pretty huge, as his form cast a shadow over Naruto, who had to crane his neck up to look at his face. "Do you want to die, pretty boy?" He grabbed Naruto's face. "Let go." Naruto's voice became eerily calm, but it carried a faint trace of irritation. "Or what? You gonna tell your mom on me?" He sneered. Naruto grabbed the older man's wrist, and with little effort pushed it away easily. For Naruto, it was easy, but for the older man, it was like trying to push a loaded truck. He purposely held back, so he could pry the man's hand off his face slowly, enjoying the grimace on the older man's face as he struggled. "Fuck, I'm gonna." Naruto threw the criminal's hand aside and slapped him in the face, hard. Naruto watched as the man's neck snapped sideways, and went stiff from the sheer force alone, and fell with a dull thud. He was sure he heard a cracking sound, which means the man was probably having a serious case of whiplash, or he was KO'd instantly, or maybe dead. Anyways, Naruto pushed the cart over the downed body, and stepped over all the while whistling a tune. Quavo sat on a table opposite Martha caressing his twin blue pistols, a weird color for a gun, whispering incoherent words to it. Martha took advantage of his distraction, and reached for the smartwatch on her wrist discreetly. She fingered the buttons carefully, sparing one last glance at Quavo. She pushed the button and the nearby police station were notified, and they sprung into action, which was surprisingly where her older brother works. A short knife went past her, cutting a deep wound on her left temple. She didn't cry though, the fear was petrifying. Quavo tipped his hat lower till it stopped at his eyebrows. "They never listen," he said as he placed the blue pistol on her forehead, parting her bangs. "Sayonara, little one." The squeaking sound of the cart's wheel interrupted the moment. The moment that would have followed if he had squeezed the trigger would have sent gray matter, blood and flesh all over the place. Excuse me, coming through." Naruto pushed Quavo aside and stared at Martha, who was gaping like a fish out of water. "How much do these cost?" Naruto pointed at the cart beside him. Quavo and his henchmen were lost. Even the customers on the floor. The tip of the cold metal touched Naruto's temple as a clicking sound went off. "Who the fuck are you, fucker?" Quavo didn't like this one. Not an ounce of fear was present in his eyes or his body language. This blonde man gazed at them like they were fly buzzing around. Naruto sighed. "They never take a hint. Get that away from my temple." Quavo was a millisecond away from squeezing the trigger, before Naruto parried the arm away and a blue flaming bullet shot out of the gun. Naruto's eyes, which were used to high-speed projectiles, caught the bullet's form for a moment before he tilted his head. And it went past his face, drilling a hole through the wall. Before he could take aim with his other hand, Naruto caught his wrist and pointed it upwards. He drew the criminal forward, and reared his head backward, before he delivered a nasty headbutt to the bridge of his nose, which reeled him backwards as he nursed his nose. "Shoot him down," one of them yelled. Naruto placed a hand on Martha's head, and forced her down, for cover, kicked a card at the man closest to him, and slipped into the many rows of shelves in the store out of their sight. All thanks to his ninja instincts kicking in. "Fire at everything." The hostages screamed in fear as the criminals opened fire on where they thought Naruto was destroying, that section of the store. "Hold your fire," one of them screamed. "Where is he?" A white-haired thief asked his companions. One of them heard a skull crack, before he crashed face first into the floor before losing consciousness with blood trickling down the floor from his head. Naruto went after the next person with a twirl, as he released a spinning back kick packed with chakra-enhanced momentum and tore to his face, sending blood, saliva and a handful of teeth flying out of the guy's mouth. The blonde ninja cared less about killing them right now, because he wasn't holding back his physical strength. Quavo watched Naruto fight with keen interest, and knew he was far stronger than an ordinary human. He wondered if Naruto was a supernatural being, or if he at least knew about the supernatural to a certain extent. This one might be like him, he thought. Bang. Bang. Naruto skillfully dodged the bullets advancing forward at impressive speeds. He neared a white-haired one and disarmed him, knocking him unconscious with a drop kick in the throat, using him like a wall to bounce off. As he performed a backflip before landing perfectly on both feet with a pistol in hand. "Pansies, their whole lot," Quavo remarked with a dry look, staring at his fallen lackeys. He clicked his tongue, showing no remorse for his fallen underlings. He waited, expecting the two he stationed at the entrance exit before he sighed, realizing that Naruto had already taken care of them. Maybe when he disappeared back then. "You know, I brought them rats here for an excursion. Like a field test or something, you get. I normally let them lower rankers do this, but today, someone told me I'd find someone interesting in a grocery store." Naruto advanced forward and came to a halt when Quavo used Martha as a hostage. He squeezed that trigger and her life's forfeit. Quavo had Martha in his crosshairs. Naruto raised the gun anyways. "What kind of hero are you? You gonna sacrifice the damsel in distress just so you can kill the villain?" Quavo asked incredulously. "I'm no hero." Naruto held the gun with both hands, and closed one eye for dramatic effect. Clearly, Quavo had the upper hand, but he seemed to have bought Naruto's bluff. "You're different, Yonjin. I wish I had people like you around me. Such a shame really, killing you would be a big waste, so let's finish this like the old West do, HM. What'd you say?" Quavo said with a creepy smile. The expression Quavo had on was off-putting. The smile and his face were great contrast. What? Naruto asked with a furrowed eyebrow. Quavo had a nagging feeling that Naruto was the type that would kill a target and a hostage to accomplish a mission. Let's duel, boy. You're weird, Naruto commented. Quavo stepped away from Martha and holstered his twin blue pistol. He raised both arms up and sauntered till he was in Naruto's line of sight. Why'd you say, HM? He asked with his creepy smile still present. That's a big no. Naruto squeezed the trigger. Quavo, with lightning speed, drew out his twin guns and fired at the incoming bullet Naruto released. Both bullets collided in the air, before they fell looking harmless on the ground. The flames on Quavo's bullet consumed Naruto's bullet till it was ash. The whole store went silent. The hostages didn't dare raise their heads in fear of getting killed by a stray bullet. Martha was the only one beholding this spectacle. She was astonished not because Quavo shot a bullet in the air, but because of Naruto's display of courage, power and precision. Though there was one thing she looked past, the half-pissed-off look on his face. Naruto, on the other hand, was impressed. The leader was very good. He took aim, this time at Quavo's head, and squeezed the trigger twice. Another clang sound and both bullets fell on the floor harmless. Naruto was officially pissed. This guy was mocking him. He had two guns and he stopped Naruto's bullets with one, which means he was free to take a shot, if he wanted to. The shinobi spotted another pistol lying 2 feet ahead. Bang. Bang. 4 guns went off. Naruto had taken 2 steps forward, and kicked the pistol upwards with his feet, before he caught it with his other hand, and rained bullets on Quavo moving forward. Quavo mirrored Naruto till Naruto was in close proximity with a gun pointed at the left side of his face. Naruto had already discarded one when it ran out of ammo. Quavo had a gun at Naruto's right eye and another at his stomach. I won this round, hombre, he said. Naruto looked from Quavo's eyes down to his stomach. You think so? He asked. Using speeds greater than a human eye could follow, Naruto slapped the gun at his stomach and Quavo took that opportunity to land a kick on Naruto's stomach. The force of the kick pushed Naruto back 4 feet. Bang. The cut appeared on Naruto's face. The hull appeared in Quavo's favorite hat. Naruto kicked the other gun away with his right leg and back kicked Quavo in the stomach with the other leg, while in the air. They both engaged in a brief bout of taijutsu with Naruto smacking him around till they were out of sight. Quavo smashed into a wall before skidding to suicide. Fighting him in close combat is suicide. Quavo deduced early. You're strong, boy. No more kitties' gloves. The blue guns pulsated a deep dark aura as they levitated. Balance, he began loving the horrified look on Naruto's face. Fuck me. Naruto blurred out of sight and reappeared in front of Quavo with a chakra-enhanced fist reared back. React, Naruto socked him in the jaw sending him crashing out of the wall, and into 2 buildings. Both guns disappeared and Naruto took a deep breath. That would have been troublesome, he sighed, dusting an imaginary dirt off his shirt. Now, where's my card? He turned around to go find it. Put your hand where I can see them. A man in his late 20s, in a white shirt with a black butterfly pattern, and red pants with a mop of pale blonde hair, and purple eyes, pointed a normal pistol at Naruto. Hey, I'm just a customer. Naruto shouted with a raised fist. Get down on your knees. The man yelled at Naruto. Naruto straightened himself and placed both hands on his waist and asked, Who the hell are you? I'm Detective John from Kuroka Police Department. The detective fished out a pair of handcuffs from his back pocket, and at the same time, flashed a badge at Naruto. Naruto sighed as he went down on his knees, his hands on his head. Should have raised my hands when he told me to. So, what you're telling me is you single-handedly defeated a group of criminals, and fended off the leader of the Spix-Cry group? John didn't find it hard to believe. He just didn't believe a single ounce of what the eccentric man was saying. That's the gist of it. I'm awesome, aren't I? Naruto asked with a sense of pride in his accomplishments. The last Uzumaki sat with his legs crossed shaking impatiently, as he scanned the police station with his handcuffed hands on his legs. His eyes landed on Martha who was telling her brother everything she saw with great enthusiasm. And that's when you came in. She finished. Okay. I'm gonna ask you some basic questions, Naruto-san, John said with professionalism. Fire away, Naruto said with his trademark bored face. Name? Naruto. Full name? Naruto L. Ramen. John glanced up from his computer screen giving the blonde a flat stare. What? I like ramen topping. In fact, I love ramen topping. Naruto said, staring at John's purple eyes. That's serious, Naruto-san. He said with a straight face. Fine. Killjoy, Naruto mumbled under his breath. Name's Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto Uzumaki. He said typing his name in. Age? Nothing in the world could have prepared John for Naruto's answer. Infinity. He answered with a dead serious look on his face. Naruto-san. John raised his voice. Naruto seemed like the irresponsible rude type that didn't give a shit about anything, and the type to get under people's skin for their own amusement to John, and that carefree attitude was grating on his nerves. But Oni-chan, he saved my life and a whole lot of people in this store. Martha tried to defend Naruto, something he didn't care about at the moment. He saved those people including his baby sister, so can't they just call it a day and let him go home? Martha, yes he did, but I still need to question him, and write down his statements. This is all due process, and just because he's a hero doesn't mean he should be disrespectful. Touché, Naruto said. He really enjoyed toying with the cop. Naruto-san, I'll ask again, how old are you? I'm 19. 19, he asked again, a bit surprised. Naruto glanced sideways with a disinterested look. Occupation. Naruto held his tongue, deciding he's played with the pig enough, not that he was playing this time around anyways. Teacher. Class 3B homeroom teacher actually. Kuo Academy, in case you were wondering. Kuo Academy. Those two words cemented Naruto's fate. You see, Martha loved Kuo Academy, but unfortunately they couldn't afford it. They were both orphaned at a young age, so they worked hard for everything they possessed today. You're a teacher, but you're so young. John stuttered. Kuo Academy. Wow, you're so cool, sensei. Martha beamed. Naruto raised an eyebrow at Martha, staring at the plaster on her cheeks. Must have been from that knife wound earlier. Sensei. I'm sure I have never seen your face in school. An embarrassed blush stained Martha's cheeks. I have always wanted to enroll in Kuo Academy. It's my dream school, but we can't afford it yet, she said dejectedly. Wow. I would have loved to help you, but a pig that shall not be named ruined my mood earlier today. Naruto replied with a bored smile. Of course John understood the cryptic message, but Martha on the other hand seemed oblivious as she tried to wrap her head around it. Naruto-san, you did a great job defending innocent lives. The police can't thank you enough, he said awkwardly. John's sudden change was partially due to the look Martha shot him. The stylist tried the group, or whatever you called them, what's that? Naruto asked with veiled curiosity. The crime rate in Kuo had been increasing recently, and Naruto didn't care one bit. Maybe a devil was behind all this, so that means that's devil business, and that's a no-no for him. The Grimoire kids would handle that. You haven't heard of them? John asked. Of course I have. In fact, I hear about them all the time, and I know everything there is to know about them, so I wonder why I'm even asking you this in the first place. Naruto's words were dripping with sarcasm. John shot him a look that clearly reminded him he was crossing boundaries. I'm sorry. It's just that I have been stressed out lately. Naruto apologized. A dangerous crime unit headed by a more dangerous man called Quavo. They've managed to evade capture all these years, and their leader was said to have killed a whole squad of SPRT, Special Police Response Team. You don't know how lucky you are to come out with your life intact, John said. Quavo? So that's his name? Naruto questioned rhetorically. He's an infamous dangerous criminal. He's always with his signature guns, twin blue pistols. His guns have specially made blue bullets we can't ID. It's like this guy handmade them. Of course you can't, it's his sacred gear. But to think a thief with a sacred gear was on the loose, that's disturbing, Naruto pondered with furrowed eyebrows. Naruto-san? John called, bringing the distracted blonde's attention back to reality. Naruto cleared his throat as he relaxed into the chair. That will be all, you're free to go. He gestured at the door. John stood up and extended a hand to Naruto for a handshake. Naruto looked from the extended hand to John's purple orbs and raised his handcuffed hands. Oh, I almost forgot about that. A sheepish John freed Naruto from the metal constraint. The blonde teenager rubbed his wrists after the purple-eyed detective freed him, relieved he could once again stretch his hands wide. Well then, goodbye super cop. Naruto stood and gave a two-fingered salute. Marie Naruto nodded at John's little sister. Naruto was 2 feet away from the door before John's words stopped him in his tracks. Thank you for saving my baby sister's life. He gave a deep bow of appreciation, and Martha followed suit. Naruto pursed his lips and nodded twice before he left the police station. What a weird guy, John said before getting back to work. Naruto was about to hear Ishin home outside the police station before he remembered something important. Ah, I knew I forgot something, Naruto yelled, making the passers-by in front of the police station stare at him. He ran back into the police station when he finally remembered what it was that he forgot. Naruto flung the door wide open, locked eyes with John and asked, "Where's my card?" Scene change, I'm home. Naruto, what took you so long? Kaguya screamed like a worried mom. Naruto unceremoniously dropped on the couch face first and answered with a muffled voice, had to stop a robbery. Robbery? HM. Some fools tried to rob the store I was in, and what's weird is that the leader had a sacred gear. I sighed unsurprised. This isn't the first time humans have used the sacred gears for evil. Sacred gears, those things are hard to deal with. They're no fun. Yeah, some sacred gears are even strong enough to kill gods. They're called Longinus. Longinus? Naruto repeated. 13 in total. The strongest one is currently possessed by Cao Cao, the leader of the hero faction. Naruto's eyes darkened at the mention of the hero faction and Cao Cao, which Kaguya noticed. Cao Cao, I get this feeling that one day I'll be seeing him again, and our meeting will be ugly. Kyoto, you haven't been there ever since, Kaguya said, looking at a despondent Naruto. I miss them, you know. Then go visit them. Make some time to go see how they're doing. The mother goddess thought Naruto should have at least paid them a visit to let them know how he's doing. The poor people might think Naruto found a way back home, or something worse might have happened to him. That's a luxury I can't afford, Naruto said. The only thing holding you back is you, Naruto. Naruto pondered on what the goddess said, not exactly sure about what she meant. Naruto turned his head towards the TV, watching the afternoon news going on. As ever, the shit was depressing, and it seems like the increase in crime rates wasn't limited to just Kuro. Let's watch something interesting. News is no fun. Like you know how to have fun. Kaguya snorted. There's nothing wrong with watching the news. It was more educative than the action movies young people love to see. The Avengers versus morning news. What would you pick? Naruto scoffed. I don't think an old woman like you knows how to have fun. Naruto moved just in time, dodging a lightning-fast projectile and a crash course heading for his skull. The projectile broke into pieces with a loud clatter on the floor. Ah, my remote. He yelled dramatically and shot Kaguya a dry look. With a snap of her fingers, the destroyed remote levitated inside a green magic circle till it was restored to its original state. I still hate magic, show off. Naruto looked to the side, mumbling the last part. He wouldn't admit it, but magic was awesome. HN. Kaguya had a smug smirk on her face. Seems like Naruto's rubbing off on her. Well, there's this new movie, wanna see it together? Naruto grabbed 2 beers from the fridge, replacing them with the ones he bought yesterday. With great precision, he flipped both beers towards the table, before vaulting over the couch to a new console, switching it on before bouncing off the floor with a backflip, grabbing the can of beer along, and landing on the couch perfectly. See, I know how to have fun. Kaguya nodded, unconvinced. She sat beside the shinobi with a cup filled with popcorn. Hey, I was the prankster king back at home. Naruto Uzumaki, the stick in the mud, a prankster. Naruto Sapphire orbs whitened in disbelief. You think I'm lying? Proof. Kurama the kitsune joined the chat. Trust me, you don't want to be a target of Naruto Uzumaki. It's starting. The trio watched different movies throughout the day to the late hours of the night, before calling it when Kaguya started yawning frequently. In a random guy's apartment, in a dimly lit unorganized room, an average-looking man with a pot-belly wheezed roughly as he chugged the contents of a bottle. The average room reeked of alcohol and vomit, and the wooden table creaked as he slammed the bottle on top of it. Why don't I just end it all, he said with remorse. My daughter, my sweet daughter. I brought her to this world, but yet, I haven't brought her a single good thing. The old man drowned his sorrows in a mouthful gulp of alcohol. The old man puffed his cheeks when he felt the urge to puke. He stumbled on the floor when he tried to reach for the bathroom door handle, before dumping his stomach's contents on the ground. How am I supposed to pay her tuition fee? He cried. The stench of the vomit on the floor made him nauseous. His nausea came back full force, and he quickly emptied his stomach's contents, holding his stomach on his knees. An eerie silence descended into the house. It was like the wind itself stood still for a moment. The silhouette of a cloud seeped through the window like a fluid before it took a demonic humanoid form. It bent to the man's ear level and spoke, "You poor little thing. Your daughter doesn't need a pathetic man who drowns his sorrow in alcohol, only to vomit in his own living room. What she needs is money, and there's a lot of ways to get it." The silhouette pointed at the old TV on the old shelf. A bank advertisement was going on. "We will take from those who have to give those that don't." The old man stared at the silhouette in trance, as if its words were his salvation. "Come, take my hand." The silhouette extended a clawed hand. "Take my hand and receive a portion of me." The man reached out with both hands, and the moment his hands touched the otherworldly being's hands, his eyes went completely black, before he started screaming, a black cloud of smoke erupting from his body. "Ha ha. Yes, we like the greedy ones." It hissed like a snake who's just found its prey. The next day, Naruto came out of bed today with the goal to have as much fun as possible staying indoors. He tried his best, but he quickly lost interest in everything he tried to do. "Oi, Kozo, care for another round?" Kurama came out to play video games with Naruto. Thanks to his opposable thumbs, something Kaguya hadn't noticed until now, he was able to grab the controller. "Nah, I'm too bored for a rematch. All I have done is play video games." Kaguya sighed in the corner. She tried to contact his friends, keyword friends, but Naruto had none. The closest thing he had to friends was the Red Dragon Emperor. Naruto once told her he could tolerate Issei, Aja and Kaiba to an extent, but the rest were bats to him. Unfortunately, Issei wandered off to the underworld, which left one person. Ding dong. Talking about a certain person. "I'll get it," Naruto said. Kurama proofed back to the seal, when he reached for the knob on the white wooden door. Naruto flung the door wide open, and his mood dampened even further upon laying his eyes on the person in the front door. "Kuroka, what an unpleasant surprise," Naruto greeted without luster. The grimace graced her beautiful features, and with little effort, she brushed Naruto aside. "Kaguya-san." How have you been? Her mood changed instantly as she gave the goddess a hug. Naruto closed the door and went back to the game he was playing, ignoring them and just hitting the buttons with a dull look on his face. I can see. He is more Naruto than usual, Kuroka said, scanning Naruto with something akin to pity. He is just clicking the buttons. Don't worry. This sexy cat will have him purring in no time. Kuroka marched straight to Naruto. Good luck. Be careful. Kaguya whispered, cheering her on. Kuroka placed herself between Naruto and the screen. Oi, Naruto, let's play a versus. Go away, Naruto replied curtly. Little Naru's scared of me. Naruto knew what she was doing and decided to play along anyway. He grabbed the other controller and gave it to her. Naruto won every single game they played. You're good, but I bet you can't beat me at sports games, Kuroka boasted. And so they played sports. Mostly racing, and the blonde menace proved to be too good. He proved he was the king of video games in his house. In the end, Naruto had a smug look on his face. I want to wipe that off his face, Kuroka raged mentally. You're lucky I don't have much talent for video games, she said, hoping not to lose face. It was all for naught though. Loser. Naruto channeled his inner Uchiha very well. Sasuke would be proud. Heck, Madara's soul would have given him a proud nod of approval. I bet you'll fail at other games. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the challenge and replied, bring it. They tried different games, from puzzles, to Scrabble, to rock, paper, scissors, to any game an average person could play. They tried all sorts of games and Naruto stood victorious. At one point they tried magic or chakra enhanced games, which came to an abrupt halt when Kuroka broke the table in frustration, making Naruto glare at her, as he demanded another table be bought instantly. It was 9:20 p.m., and Kuroka, miffed at her losses today, challenged Naruto to another game. A game of poker. That's a bad idea, Naruto said reluctantly. You're scared? She asked. Yes, I'm scared. I'm so scared I'll win all your money and have you weeping on my floor. The blonde human had a huge sweat drop on his head. My Naruto-chan, such arrogance. Kaguya's interest peaked when she heard a game of poker. It's not arrogance. I'm just extremely lucky at poker. Really? Let's play poker. Kaguya knew this was a game she could win. She had extreme luck herself and Naruto might be over-exaggerating. I'll be the dealer, Kuroka said. Alright, time to go find that deck of cards. He yelled with enthusiasm, looking forward to crushing the supernatural duo. He fumbled around the house looking for playing cards. Ha, I thought I had one. Oh well. Naruto did a cross-hand sign and poof, the blonde's clone had already sped off to the closest store in search of playing cards. The clone Hirai back home a minute later complaining about stupid errands and his short existence before he dispelled. They looked new. Kuroka noticed the cards were in pristine condition. Yeah, I just bought them, Naruto replied casually. How? You were inside your room a minute ago, Kuroka said. Naruto raised an eyebrow at her question, and nonetheless, he didn't justify her question with an answer. The black Nekashu swiftly opened the pack and shuffled them with a dealer's grace. She then dealt 2 cards face down to both players. Both players had 7,000 yen cash on the table. They had to make do with yen. No chips available. The minimum bet was 50 yen. Naruto puts in a small blind of 50 yen. Kaguya takes the big blind. Flip. Kuroka called as she dealt out 3 cards, face up, for both players. An ace, a 10 and a 9 on the center of the table for both contestants to see. Naruto was all fired up and ready for the game. When was the last time he played poker? He knew he had good luck, but how would he fare against the goddess? Was she susceptible to his insane luck? Naruto was about to find out. I raise 100, Naruto puts in 100 yen. I raise 250, Kaguya raised Naruto by 150 yen. Call, Naruto matched her raise. 650 yen in the pot. Turn. Kuroka placed the king of spades on the table. Kaguya took a quick look at her hand. I raise 150 yen, Naruto raised without looking at his cards. I call. Kaguya's expression didn't betray anything. She had a good poker face on. However, Kuroka placed the last card on the table, which was a queen. Raise 100, Naruto raised. Hold on a minute. You don't know if you have a good hand, she warned. What? You scared? He taunted. Kaguya narrowed her eyes and replies, I call. With 1,200 yen in the pot, Kaguya dropped a 9 and 8 on the table. You lose. Naruto slammed his cards on the table, a king and a queen. Naruto wins with 2 pairs. Kuroka collected the cards and took her time to shuffle them this time around. She was rooting for Kaguya this round. Well, she was rooting for Kaguya in every round. Naruto Uzumaki must be brought down. Kaguya placed the small blind, and Naruto automatically took the big blind, 50 and a 100 respectively. Good luck, Kaguya. Kuroka's slim digits placed 3 cards on the table, ignoring Naruto's incredulous look. An 8, 6 and 5. Naruto, like the shinobi he was, peeked at his hand discreetly. I raise 100, Kaguya raised with an unreadable expression rivaling Naruto's. Call. Turn. A 7 appeared on the table. Check. Kaguya knocked the table for emphasis. Naruto glanced at her. A little cautious, are we? Naruto said, pondering for a while before he made his decision. I check. 350 yen in the pot. River. The last community card was a queen. I bet 100. Kaguya was highly optimistic about this round. Raise 150. Naruto raised by a 50. Call. Kaguya said calmly. Naruto knew he'd win anyway, so he reached out for the pot. Kaguya slapped Naruto's hands away, earning a glare from the blonde man. Let's see your cards. Naruto sighed, a bit irked by Kaguya's intrusion. Both players flipped their cards over at lightning speed at the same time. Naruto's blonde eyebrows shot to his hairline at the cards Kaguya had in her possession. It's a draw. Kaguya had a little smirk of her own. Both players had a flush. A 9 and a 10. 400 yen for each player. Not bad for a goddess. A sudden silence descended on the blonde ninja's living room. Naruto only realized his lapsus when Kaguya gave him a WTF look. Fortunately, Kuroka didn't notice a thing because she was too busy reshuffling the cards. Phew. Naruto breathed out a sigh of relief. Round 3. Flop. I fold. Naruto ended the game prematurely. They continued playing for a while. Naruto 4, Kaguya 0. See, I told you. I'm unbeatable. He gloated. I wish I could join in. Kuroka had a pout on her features. Poof. A clone poofed into existence beside Kuroka. Oh, I totally forgot about this ability. Dumbus. Naruto remarked under his breath. What did you say? A furious Kuroka asked. Naruto picked his ear with his pinky, totally ignoring her. The more the merrier, Kaguya said, pulling out a seat for Kuroka. It wouldn't hurt to have another loser join the game. That means more money for me. Naruto snickered with a little smirk directed at Kuroka. It's on Uzumaki. Kuroka cracked her knuckles, accepting the challenge. 1 hour later. We haven't won a single game. Kuroka wailed, and for some reason Naruto felt gratified seeing her like that. He is good, alright, Kaguya said, equally exasperated at Naruto's unreal luck, before gulping down a cup of water. Please, just 1 round. Just 1 round. She begged him with both hands joined together. Kiki, despair weaklings. Naruto had a crazed gleam on his face behind the pile of his winnings, lightning flashing in the background, and his dentition was somehow replaced with a shark's. He really enjoyed teasing the black cat. Weakling, huh? Let's play 1 more round. Kaguya had a gleam in her eyes that reminded Naruto of her status as a goddess. Fun fact, Naruto Uzumaki is the only ninja to have ever played poker with a divine being. No problem, Naruto said, leaning back on his chair. Naruto had a sinking feeling when he accepted the challenge. A little voice in his head was telling him to call it quits for today, but his ego, his mountain-sized ego, wouldn't let him. With a quick nod from Naruto, the clone dealing collects the cards. While shuffling, the clone made an error, sending the stack of cards sprawling over the table. Whoops. Clone, Naruto exclaimed, a bit flustered. He gathered them back at lightning speed, and reshuffled with extreme precision this time around. The clone bent forward, and laid a pair of cards for each player, before he straightened up. 10,000 yen for each player. Flip. The first 3 cards were Jack of Spades, Queen, and an Ace. I bet 500, Kaguya began. Call, Naruto and Kuroka said simultaneously. Turn. The clone placed the 4th community card on the table. A love of 3. All in, Kaguya announced. Naruto stopped for a moment before sparing a sideways glance at Kaguya. Is she frustrated? He thought, thinking her move irrational. All in. Kuroka didn't think much of it and decided to follow Kaguya's lead. Ho, what's this? Kuroka went all in. 2 chibi Narutos suddenly poofed into existence on Naruto's shoulder. One had a halo on his head, while the other held a red pitchfork. Let's fold, Naruto, we can always play another game next time. Naruto with a halo on his head advised. That's unacceptable. What happened to our pride? Uzumaki, Naruto never backs down. Pitchfork, Naruto egged on. Listen to me, Naruto, you have to fold. Halo, Naruto yelled using a megaphone, and had somehow grabbed Naruto's ears and was pulling it. Kuroka went all in, and she's a pussy cat. A pussy? You wanna know another word for pussy? It's a wuss. Pitchfork, Naruto grabbed Naruto's eyelids as he yelled at the top of his little lungs with his pitchfork, pointed at Kuroka, who was busy staring at her hand, scratching her head. Damn it all. Naruto flapped his hands around, ending the existence of both chibi Narutos. All in, he said with narrowed eyelids. He chose to go all the way, ignoring the feeling of trepidation he had. River, clone, Naruto intoned, placing a spade of 10 on the table. With 30,000 yen on the line. The 3 contestants peeked at their cards. Hands. Naruto had a clover of 10 and king. A straight flush. Kuroka had a pair. Kaguya was calm, too calm. Maybe she had a good poker face. Or was she dealt a bad hand? HM, I'm the best. Naruto patted himself mentally, when saw his hands were the best on the table. He relaxed on his chair, and flipped his card face up for everyone to see. I won this round, again. He cackled and made haste to collect his wins, but a firm grasp on his wrist stopped him midway. Naruto-chan, don't be too hasty, Kaguya said in a sickly sweet tone. A bead of sweat rolled down Naruto's temple till it reached his chin. The bead of sweat glistened mid-air on its journey to the tabletop as Naruto's eyes glazed over. He went silent with his clones staring at him with an alarmed look on his face. They turned their head back to the game with a sigh, before they suddenly paled looking out the window again at a specific spot, the third floor of the Haidu house. Shimada. Naruto and his clone blasted off, breaking their window in the process. Their speed sent a wave of air around the room blowing away the cards on the table. 2 cards, Gaia's in particular, danced in the air before it began. It descended to the floor on a broken piece of glass beside Gaia, a spade of king and queen. Naruto appeared on the ceiling of the 3rd floor, staring at 2 strangers holding Mr. and Mrs. Haidu at gunpoint. Issei's parents had their eyelids shut tight, and Mr. Haidu had his wife in a protective embrace. As Naruto stayed stationary, crouched under the ceiling, his brain analyzing different ways to cause the thieves indescribable pain, he pondered on the greatest problem. How to pull it off with his neighbors right in front of him. It wouldn't take a genius to figure that Issei's parents were totally clueless about the supernatural, even though they lived with devils and their son was one, and Naruto would love to keep it that way. Hand-to-hand combat. He could lie about having formal training, which wasn't a lie at all, but dodging bullets, his clones taking care of the thieves in the other floods was another problem. Naruto remembered reading different comics about gifted people wearing spandex to conceal their identity, saving people, fighting crime in the city. The problem was that Naruto wasn't a hero, and he wasn't interested in wearing spandex, nor interfering with things he had absolutely nothing to do with. Now how was he going to do it? His clones had cleared their floor and now, it was time for him. Kaiten, Hijingaku no Jutsu, Naruto whispered with a half-ram seal before puffing his cheek, breathing out a cloud of ash. The thieves below had a coughing fit before they went limp. A sudden gust of wind blew the ashes away, and all that remained was a befuddled Mr. and Mrs. Haidu still holding each other, staring at the downed bodies of the guys who tried to cause them bodily harm. Honey, what just happened? I don't know. I'm gonna call the police, Issei's dad said before stepping on something. He raised his legs off the ground, and a bat-shaped black metal was lying on the floor. Batman? He yelled with disbelief, his black orbs whitening behind the glasses he wore. The blonde shinobi walked in, a frown on his face, bloodstains on his knuckles and clothes. Naruto, would you run away all of a sudden? Kuroka yelled upset, standing beside the window holding a broken shard. She sniffed the air twice, before squinting her eyes at Naruto. You smell like ash. Naruto? Gaia stared at the bloodstains on his body. It happened again, he said staring at Gaia. An armed group of robbers tried to rob our neighbors. Gaia shot up to her feet aghast. Are they okay? Yeah. They're good, a bit perturbed if anything. Let's go check up on them, Gaia said, pushing back the chair she sat on. The wailing of police sirens gained their attention. Hey look, did they call the police? Gaia asked, looking through the broken window pointing at the police car parked in front of Issei's house. Naruto moved closer to see for himself. He traced the edge of the broken window, and made a mental note to repair them as soon as possible. Thanks for your cooperation. The older white-haired detective said standing to his feet. The couch he sat on sagged a bit due to his well above average weight. Thank you so much Detective Hiroshima. Issei's mom bowed to the detective. The other detective fingered the edge of the batarang in his hand before scratching his pale blonde hair in confusion. There's nothing to worry about, detective. A vigilante posing around as Batman is on the loose. Detective Hiroshima explained, seeing the confused look on his partner's face. That doesn't explain how he was able to beat all of them, the other detective argued. I don't think their story adds up. How about the sudden ash and gust of wind? Like I said, Detective Batman. Hiroshima wiggled his fingers in the air. Mr. Haidu gave a nod to Hiroshima in full support of his theory. A knock on the door interrupted them. Naruto-san. Mrs. Haidu's eyes lit up when she saw Naruto walk in with 2 women in tow behind him. Mrs. Haidu, we haven't been formally introduced. I'm Gaia, Naruto's sister, Gaia introduced. What? Oh my, you never told me you had a pretty sister, she said, moving closer, taking Gaia's hands. Gaia asked how she was feeling, which she responded well to. Wait, Naruto-san, the pale blonde-haired detective purple eyes widened drastically. Oh, Super Cop, fancy meeting you here. Naruto said, surprise. Hiroshima and Kuroka looked from Naruto to John. Sir, meet the hero of the store robbery incident. John introduced enthusiastically. Hiroshima's eyebrows went up to his hairline. Naruto Uzumaki, it's a pleasure meeting you. The police and Kuo in general can't thank you enough for your brave act, he said, extending his hand for a handshake which Naruto shook. You live around here, son? Yeah, we're neighbors, Naruto answered. I see, he said, staring at the distance. Well, I believe my work here is done. He nodded at Ms. Haidu before going out. You live around here? That's great, John said before he followed his senior out. Naruto looked at Kuroka, Gaia, and Issei's mom, who were chatting like a robbery never happened in the first place, to Mr. Haidu, who had his eyes glued to the newspaper. He pursed his lips and stood there awkwardly. So, anything missing? He asked. No one in particular. Okay, I'll stop talking and just stand here. For some reason, Naruto felt left out that night. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. And also check out the playlist that I have created, and enjoy. Link is in the description. See you in the next video. Peace.